Daf Mem Zayin Amud Aleph will begin at Daf Mem Vav Amud Beis, the last line at the bottom. Continuing on with machlokes between Rabba and Rav Chisda, Rabba holds of Hoyel, that we say Hoyel, there's a possibility that in this case, a possibility that guests might come even though it's towards the end of the day, so therefore a person, even though he's cooking or baking, it's not for his own use. So how would it be mutter to bake on Yontiv if it's not for his Eichel Nefesh? But since Eichel might come, guests might come, and he might need it for the guests, therefore Midaraisa, we say that there is no Isser. According to Rav Chisda, he says he does not hold of Hoyel. However, he holds, when you have a case where Yontiv is on Friday, that he says Midaraisa, that Tzorchei Shabbos Nasim B'Yontiv. And there also would be no Isser Doraisa if Erev Shabbos is Yontiv. If Yontiv is an Erev Shabbos, then in that case we would say there's no Isser Doraisa. Esvei. So we have a kasha, the Rabbi again asking on Rav Chisda from the following case: Lechem upon him, the case of Lechem upon him, Nechal l'tisha l'asor l'chadasa, leipachas v'loyoseh. The lechem upon him, so there's the 12 loaves that were on the shulchan in the Mishkan and the Beis Hamikdash. They can be eaten for either 9 days, 10 days, or 11 days, not more, not less. Not less or not more. So how is that? Ketzad kedarka l'tisha. In the normal course of events, it's eaten on the 9th day. How is that? Because it's nefa b'erev Shabbos. It's baked on Erev Shabbos. You bake it on Erev Shabbos, and therefore it's there placed on the shulchan. On the next day they put it on the shulchan. It remains there for the entire week, and then it's eaten on the following Shabbos. So nechal b'Shabbos l'tisha. It's eaten on the following Shabbos, which is 9 days. It's baked Erev Shabbos. So you have from Friday to the following Shabbos, so it's including the day of Friday and Shabbos, it's 9 days. So that's how it's nechal l'tisha. Chal and Yom Tov liyos b'erev Shabbos if Yom Tov is on Erev Shabbos. So you can't bake it on Yom Tov, you can't bake it on Erev Shabbos because it's Yom Tov. And you can't bake for the following week. So therefore, it's nechal l'Shabbos l'asor. So therefore you bake it on Thursday, and it's eaten on the following Shabbos, which is 10 days. Shnei Yom Tov shel Rosh Hashanah, if you have before Shabbos 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, so you can have 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, you have Thursday, Friday. You can't bake it on Thursday, Friday, so it has to be baked on Wednesday. Then, in that case, nechal Shabbos l'chad also, it's eaten on the following Shabbos, which is 11 days. Because the baking of the lechem upon him is not daicha, not Shabbos, and not Yom Tov. If you say, like Rav Chisda says, that Tzorchei Shabbos Nasim B'Yontiv, what's the problem? Why can't you bake from Yontiv to Shabbos? Why is it not Daicha Yontiv? What's the problem? Why do we have to keep moving it earlier? Why do we have to say that it's done, that it's baked even on Thursday or on Wednesday? Why would that be the case? The Rabbanan were only mater shus and isser d'Rabbanan for something that would have immediate use, a purpose that is immediate, not for something that was further off, something that was only in the future. So Rabbeinu Dovid explains it as follows. According to Rabbah, so Rabbah asked the kasha on the following basis. He says, according to me, I hold that Tzorchei Shabbos are not nasim b'Yontiv. So the heter to bake from Yontiv to Shabbos on a regular case, for a person to bake from Yontiv to Shabbos, is based on the fact that the rice is mutter because of Hoyel. It's also the Rabbanan, and through an Erev Tavshilin, it's mutter. Now that would not apply in the Beis Hamikdash. That doesn't apply by baking on the Beis Hamikdash because there's no heter that you're baking the lechem upon him to be used to put on the mizbeach on the shulchan rather, to put on the shulchan for the next day. So hoil is not applicable, does not apply in this case over here. So therefore, midaraisa, it would be awesome. There's no heter to bake for the next day, and certainly not for something that's going to be eaten the next week. So it's understood why that therefore it would be awesome. But according to you, Rav Chisda, you don't hold of hoil. So therefore, midaraisa, you should hold that it's mutter, because Sarche Shabbos nasan beyond. Now this is going to be used for Shabbos. The lechem apanim is going to be used for Shabbos. So therefore, it should be mutter, midaraisa. Midarabanan, it's awesome. However, ein shvus b'mikdash. So therefore, it should be mutter. So even if you have Yom Tov is on Erev Shabbos, or even Rosh Hashanah, 2 days of Rosh Hashanah that are before Shabbos when they were Mekadesh al Pi Hari'iyah, but you should hold Ein Shvus B'mikdash, and therefore it should be mutter. And to that, Rav Chisda answered, he said, they were matir the Shvus B'mikdash for something that's immediate, but not for something that's further down the road. Now this is not going to be used immediately, and therefore they were not matir the Shvus. Frag the Gemara. So now Rabbah challenges this concept that Shvus Kroive Hitir but not Shvus Ruchayka. So, well, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel Dam Rishon Rabbi Shimon ben Azgan, he said in the name of Rishon ben Azgan that Deicha es Yom Tov Veina Deicha Yom Tzoim. He says that the baking of lechem upon him is Deicha Yom Tov. So that if Yom Tov falls out on Erev Shabbos, you do bake it on Yom Tov, but it's not Deicha Yom Tzoim. If Yom Kippur falls out on Friday, then you don't bake it, because you can't bake Tzorchei Shabbos Nasim B'Yom Tov. But they can't be done on Yom Kippur, because there's no heter on Yom Kippur itself to bake. Oichel Nefesh is mutter on Yom Tov. Oichel Nefesh is mutter on Yom Tov. It's mutter for the Shabbos as well. If you hold Tzorchei Shabbos Nasim B'Yom Tov, like he does hold, but not on Yom Kippur. So therefore he holds, on Yom Kippur you can't bake for the next day, but on a regular Yom Tov you could. So, my ika lameimar, what are you going to say? I mean, over here he holds that we're matir the Rabban, we're matir the Shvus, even for something that's Ruchayka. So don't you see over here that we don't apply this concept? So the way Taisus learns is as follows. Meaning, you could say that this is Gufa the Machlekes, but it's deichik to say that Gufa is what they're arguing on. And to that, the Gemara answers, V'ha pligi, Mar savar shus kruva kroive hitiru, shus ruchayka lo yitiru, Mar savar shus ruchayka nami yitiru. And to that he answers that no, that is Gufa the Machlekes. Al Karchach, he'll have to say that that's the Machlekes. Meaning, Rabbah held that's a deicha to say the Machlekes. So what did Rabbah say that the Machlekes was? That Rabbah held the Machlekes was that do you hold Sarche Shabbos Nasan B'Yom Tov or not? That's the Gufa, that's a point of the Machlekes. But to say that they're arguing Shus Kreva or Chayke Tirullah would be a deicha. Rav Chisda says no. That Akarcha, that is what they are arguing about. Maser Ramari asks Akasha on Rav Chisda. Shtei halechem inu nechal slei pachs mishnayim v'lo yoyser al shleisha. The shtei halechem that's brought on shuas, that's brought together with the shlomim, and it's eaten after the zrikas adam. This is not, it's the shtei halechem, it's not eaten less than 2 days after they're baked and not more than 3 days. Ketzad, how is that? Nefesh erev yontif. It's baked not on yontif, it's baked on erev yontif. So nechal shli yom tov l'shnayim, and then it's eaten the next day, so including the day that it's baked, including erev yontif, that's 2 days. It's baked on erev yontif, it's eaten the next day. Chal yom tov liyos achar Shabbos. If it turns out that Yom Tov is after Shabbos, so necheles liyom tov l'shleisha. So then it's baked on Erev Shabbos, and therefore it's eaten on the 3rd day after it's baked. L'fi she'eina deicha leisa Shabbos v'leisa Yom Tov. It's not deicha Shabbos or Yom Tov. So we see over here that what? That it is not baked on Yom Tov. You cannot bake it on Yom Tov. Now, if you say that tzorchei Shabbos can be done on Yontiv, hashta the Shabbos be Yontiv shari. Hashta, you say that on Yontiv you can even bake for the next day, which is Shabbos. You're telling me it's muter the Yontiv mi boya. Can you not bake it for the very same day for Yontiv? Then certainly you should be able to bake it for Yontiv. Meaning, as Rashi and other Rishonim speak out, Bishlam, according to Rabbah, he holds that you can't bake for the next day. You can't bake for later. You can't cook for later. The heter for oichel nefesh, that you're allowed to cook and bake on Yontiv, is for immediate consumption. You can bake and cook for later that day, or you can bake on Erev Shabbos, which is Yontiv to Shabbos. That's because of Hoyel. Because you say Hoyel, there might be guests, so therefore Hoyel might be Orchim. Therefore, you can bake for even later that day, and even if it's going to be for the next day, but since you might use it for this day, you might use it immediately, it might be used for immediate consumption, therefore it's muter. But in this case over here, it cannot be used for immediate consumption because the shnei lechem are only muter after the zrikas adam. So it's also right now. So at the time that you bake it, it cannot be eaten right now. You have to wait till after the avodah of the shlomim. So therefore, Bishlam, according to Rabbah, we understand why you can't bake it on Yontif, because there's no heter eichel nefesh. But according to Rav Chisda, he says that tzorchei Shabbos nasan b'Yontiv, it doesn't have to be for immediate consumption. So why do you have to bake it erev Yontiv? You should be able to bake it on Yontiv itself. Rav Chisda answers, Shaini halsam damar kol lachem. The Torah says that what you may do for Yontiv tzorchei Yontiv, the pasuk says, Acha sheyachal chol nefesh hu levado yasa lachem. It's mutter for oichel nefesh, it's mutter on Yontiv to bake and cook if it's for your purpose. It's for lachem v'loy legavoya, and not for the purpose of gavoya. Now the shtei lechem is considered gavoya. As the Ran explains that even though it's being eaten, the kaihanim eaten, but the primary purpose of it is for the avodah. The avodah is done with it. The tenufa is done with it. And after the avodah, the kaihanim eat it. But it's tzarech gavoya. So therefore, there's no heter of malacha for tzarech gavoya. It has to be lachem. He says it is Deicha Yontiv Ma'ika Lameimar. What are you going to say? How does he darshan lachem? So he holds Savar Lakaba Shol. The Omer lachem, he darshans lachem v'loy lenochrim. It has to be for you and not for nochrim, not for going. But if for avodah, it would be mutter. It would be mutter for the avodah. Taisa says that Tanakama excludes both lachem v'loy nachrim, lachem v'loy legavoya. But he says the exclusion is only for nachrim and not for gavoya. That's why he holds that it's muter.